My biggest takeaway from 2020 is just learning how to be flexible, how to be resilient, and how to listen. I think at Shadhika, we had to adjust our grant making to be accountable to our partners in a time of need for them. And we had to do that by listening to them. An example of that is, being able to provide rapid relief funding for our partners to be able to utilize it as they needed during this pandemic. And some of those things were providing food for the girls and, providing network for them to join their classes. We had to pivot our programming, and we had to be resilient in our work. And I think it shows with the girls as well, because they have all made it to 2021 with, the most resilience ever. And they have come out really bigger leaders than I think that they imagined they would be as well.
I think the biggest takeaway for me was trusting our partners and listening to them, as you mentioned, and like we talk about our theory of change, which is creating local solutions on ground, and with support of the young women who we work with and the organizations that initiate the programs on girls' rights. So we have been able to really utilize these verticals very carefully and in this time of crisis. And so my takeaway was to listen to listen to the partners and listen to the participants directly to understand what the situation was pertaining on ground, and curating and programs that would really meet the dire needs, which was they didn't have right to food, they didn't have right to mobility, they didn't have right to gather, they didn't have the right to even practice social distancing. So understanding these challenges and being able to fill those gaps were my biggest takeaway, because that kind of gave me the opportunity to really practice some of our values that we hold at Shadhika. That is trusting partners, listening to them with compassion, and knowing that they can make the best solutions. So that we were able to really put into action in 2020 in the time of crisis. The other thing which I want to add is we realized that our partners, each and every partner of Shadhika have a unique way of adapting, and they have been able to really shift very nimbly from a community-centric work, on-ground work, to a different mode of working, which is doing everything remotely, doing everything virtually. So giving them that space to really grow and transition from a community-centric approach to a hybrid-centric approach was very fascinating for us to watch, because each and every partner has have their own set of strengths and skills that they were able to utilize. Some partners had to learn it from the scratch, with support of external organization, with support of collaboration. So that was very important for us to recognize that every partner is at a different level. So we need to ensure that we provide them a tailored support in an interim manner.
What made me hopeful in this last year in 2020 was really hearing the stories from our partners and our scholars. We interviewed both partners and scholars for the When She Leads series. And through those conversations, I think, we heard all the hardships that these girls are facing, all of the challenges, yet every single girl, every single partner, had this perspective of, here's how we here's how we shifted. Here's what we did. Here's how we empowered these girls. Here's how the girls empowered us as partners. And I think that kept me going all year long. And the fact that these girls shifted their education from going to in-person college classes to virtual classes and navigating all of the challenges that go with that really gave me hope all year long that if they can do it, we can be virtual. We can have our all of our staff meetings virtual, and we can do all of our work virtual if these girls can attend school as well. And I think personally, it was tough this year. Working from home is not always easy. And, I think what helped me navigate the uncertainty of this last year was just spending as much time as I could outside and taking walks. Because I think there's something to be said about nature, knowing that the sun always rises and the sun always sets and there's always a new day. That really kept me going personally.
How we prioritize putting young women and girls at the center of our work. So that has been the driving force for Shadhika to really carry along the work through the time of uncertainty and through the waves of crisis situation that we all were forced to live in. And we always ensured that if there was an emergency or if there was a need felt on the ground that needs our attention, we always ensured that we consulted the partners first and heard their perspective. And we also ensured that in that process, how the young women or the participants are also, consulted. Because at the end of the day, we just cannot create, strategies and create, response mechanisms without consulting them, because it is their lives. It is their decisions, it's their choices that we need to respect, and we need to ensure that it's taken into consideration at every step of our planning or forecasting how the year is going to look like. So I think that one of in relation to that, like planning a virtual conversation with the young women last year, where we had a representation of young women from each and every site that we work with, and that was like a great platform to capture their stories of change, their stories of resilience, their stories of passion, how they had, how it was all tied up together to ensure that, the hardships that they are forced to exist in and live in, but still they, these three attributes keep them working, like help them to, survive, in this time of crisis, in this time of, vulnerability. When situations are beyond our control, every individual has their own way of mastering their own skill, and so we should just trust them, and we should give them that space to grow and evolve and take a decision that's in the best interest of their life. Within all these streams of uncertainty was, of course, like I think I banked a lot on work, because work kind of became that kind of helped me to stay connected with my colleagues that I work with, and because I feel it kind of gives me a sense of solidarity of hearing them, and even we are very remote. Like, we have like almost 12 hours of time difference, but we always make sure that we take out time to, hear each other and comfort each other, and provide. And my work has been a place for me to really personally grow and understand a lot of things. And especially we kind of emphasized about mental health. We prioritized about taking mental health day offs, which is not a very popular concept, still not a very popular concept in India. But then it has been quite rewarding experience, because that kind of helped me to ensure that I prioritize some self-time and me time to restore the energies that have been sweeping in between the work. So that has been really helpful. And of course, I think adopting a pet has also been a great experience for me to channelize some of my frustrations, some of my emotions, and so these kind of helped me to walk through the times of uncertainty in 2020 and as well as 2021.
I think a priority in 2021 should be that we continue to be flexible with our grant making and continue to move in the direction of trust-based philanthropy. I think Shadhika has done a lot of work to get to this place, and this year proved more than ever that we need to be flexible. We need to trust our partners. We need to listen to our partners and our program participants because they know best, and we are here to support them. And so I believe that we need to continue to move in that direction, whether there's a pandemic or not. So we have to continue this year in 2021 to be, making swift decisions and pivoting when needed, including our partners and girls along in the process, and just simply listening to them and listening to their needs, and making sure that Shadhika is doing everything possible to make sure that these young women and program participants are successful and set up to be able to have this independence and choose their futures.
The thing that I feel we should be striving to do in 2020 is push through the discomfort and the fear to make decisions that are really driven by the feminist values and the humility to correct our mistakes, and to ensure that every decision is really governed on a human rights perspective, on a rights-based perspective, rather than shying away from some of our responsibilities and some of our duties towards towards how we function. Let's be honest to the values that we hold, and really have that capacity to practice it in this time of crisis, because in this time of global crisis, because that is when you really are able to articulate your theories or your theories into action and into practice. I'm going to make sure that every day I try to be more compassionate towards and understand, hear partners, hear our participants, hear our people that I work with more empathy, and similarly I would also like to ensure that the grassroots level leaderships are made more stronger, so that they are able to implement solutions that are able to move towards the direction of achieving gender justice, because we all know how women and girls are always vulnerable during the time of pandemic, during the time of any military coup, or in the time of any calamity, or we have always seen that. So it's really important for us to make sure that knowing that these situations happen, and women and girls and many other communities that are forced to live in marginalized situations are really given the highest priority when we think about creating solutions.
So for the scholars, I think personally you all are a true inspiration for not only myself, but for the Shadhika team, for your partner staff members, for the community members, for younger girls. Because I think despite all odds and despite the fact that you all have continued your education, 100% of you have continued to go to school, go to college, under some of the most extreme circumstances, is a huge inspiration for everyone. And you should feel proud of yourself for that as well. And I think the fact that from this last year, the scholars, you were all the ones who pressured your partners to do something, to pressure your mentors that you need to, you need to give food out, you need to help with this, and you need to help with that. I think that all of your motivation this past year and your encouragement and enthusiasm to help everyone around you, despite the fact that you're living the same challenges that they are, is a huge inspiration. And I think, at some point this pandemic is going to be over or close to being over, and you're going to come out of this a stronger leader, a stronger mentor, somebody who knows how to learn from home, learn virtually, and somebody who can be a huge impact on younger girls in their community and your families. And so I just think, when I think about all the scholars right now, I think of you all as inspiration. I think of you all as big role models, even to myself. And I think it's just important for you to know that Shadhika is so proud of you. So are the partners, and that, continue working hard, because hard work will pay off. And so, yeah, we're very proud of you.
The message that I have for the partners would be, I know the situation at this point in India is way beyond our control, and the vulnerabilities continue to exist. And there's a very limited credit is given to the service providing or the or the relief work that is being done by the community-based organizations. When we talk about vulnerability, of course, the percentage of vulnerabilities or challenges that are being experienced by the community participants or the young women are much more adverse and much more have increased a lot. But a very less thought is given to the work that is carried out by the frontline staff, by the workers of the NGOs, by the community-based grassroots level leaders. So it's really important for us to recognize it and value that all the work that we talk about really stands on these NGO partners, the grassroots level actors. Without their support, without their thought process, without their rich years of experience of understanding the community and being the face of the community, without the grassroots actors, without the Shadhika partners, the work we do, or the mission that we drive to bring a cultural shift in India, to reduce early forced marriage, to provide gender equality and justice to the maximum or to the last young women in India, would have been impossible. So all I want to say, with the ongoing stresses of pandemic, which is disappropriately affecting not only the young women but also the NGOs, we have to continue listening to them and ensure that we provide them the maximum support and the flexibility to to make the best solution, and to carry out the work that Shadhika holds, to bring a cultural shift in India.